Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whoever, whichever, however, wherever way you shall be watching this video, if you should so choose to watch this video. And if you chose to watch this video and watch me blabber for a certain amount of time, I appreciate it. Your time is valuable and finite, and we're only here for a finite amount of time, a short finite amount of time, and you chose to watch me blabber. Today's subject's going to be straight to the point. I will touch briefly about my day. My day's been going on. My day started off pretty well. I've been this night, last night, and yesterday night. I actually was able to get some decent sleep for once. The past couple of weeks. I think it was more knowing that I had some days off ahead of me is what kind of helped calm my mind, and knowing I don't need to get up at a scheduled point in time to prepare for a work day, I guess. So that little vice on my brain was kind of checked off uh, for once. Um, Other than that, um, it's doing good so far. For my little coffee here, I need to stop drinking Dunkin' coffee. It's expensive price, Plus, start spending a lot of money on this stuff. Start your day with something, preferably green tea, because green tea and other types of teas that have L-theanine in it is very, very beneficial, because L-theanine has a calming and relaxing effect. Obviously, it's almost counterintuitive with the caffeine that's also in the same green tea, because you get L-theanine, which is a natural relaxer without the sedative effect, and then green tea with the caffeine effect, the caffeinated effect. So it's kind of there. You could take L-theanine as a supplement, separate supplement, and you'll still get the same results. But that's not really there. Just had my breakfast. Today is going to be pretty, I would say, relatively calm. I might go somewhere randomly. But today's subject is about colonizing another planet, and I'll use Mars as the example. Um, so, colonizing a planet. Why? What's the point of colonizing a planet? Well, the thing about that is, there's a saying, if you've heard of it or not, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You can think about that basket as a planet. If we just kept all life that's on this planet onto this, just maintain on this planet, we are sitting ducks essentially in the shooting range that is the universe and this galaxy. Um, we are susceptible and vulnerable to all kinds of cosmic events, celestial events, as well as just events here on this planet. Um, whether that be from natural calamities, biological nature, self-inflicted, meaning we are the cause of our extinction, or almost near extinction, and then the external, which is events that occur from outside our planet. So you got like meteor, asteroid impacts, cosmic ray bursts, or gamma ray bursts, or other unforeseen events that may occur in the hostilities of space, which could potentially affect us. It doesn't even necessarily have to be an object that collides with us. It can be a rogue star. It could be a rogue white dwarf. It could be a rogue black hole. That can potentially, if it's shot through our solar system, interfere and affect the orbits of our planets, the orbit of our planet around the sun, or the orbit of other planets around the sun, and it effectively jettisons us out of our normal orbit around our star, which would have monumental effect on us, potentially wiping us out just by the effects of being shot out of our existing orbit. We're not in our Goldilocks zone anymore. So then, and you can argue, well, colonizing, let's say, Mars still won't be beneficial in that regard because it pretty much affected the orbits of other planets. So that may be an exception to the cause. So in that case, you can say we can be a spacefaring civilization that doesn't rely on a planet. It could be nestled in some kind of vessel, spaceship, a very large ship capable of housing or homing millions of people, self-sustaining, etc. So when you think about having all life forms in one little rock called Earth, and let's say an asteroid impact were to occur within the next 1,000 years or so, well, there goes the majority of all life forms here on this planet. So we as a species have the capacity and the capability of bringing that life, ourselves and other life forms, to another planet, to another object, to another body in space. Albeit if we can work well enough together and continue to advance in our understanding and our technologies to bring life to other objects. So Mars is a fixer-upper. As many people have said in the past, you kind of have to work that planet from scratch. You have to first work on its atmosphere. The atmosphere on Mars is incredibly thin. Well, it's thin. Gravity's lighter. So we would have to find a way, or a number of different ways, to thicken the atmosphere of Mars so that it can sustain a livable atmosphere that will be thick enough and hold enough oxygen and maintain pressure enough that is in comparison to, or in direct similarity with Earth's pressure, so that we can potentially one day be able to step outside on the surface of Mars without having to don a spacesuit. But that's a long time from now. For now, the most we can do is establish habitats, or closed off habitats or colonies that is separated from the harsh conditions on the surface of Mars. So think of them as domes, or some other method that can hold, that has been engineered and altered enough to where we can sustain ourselves within these habitats, so that we can effectively live on the surface of Mars in a self-sustaining way without having the need of relying upon elements from outside. But of course, we will still need to rely on sort of in situ resource utilization for materials on Mars. There is water on Mars, it's frozen. There are other elements on Mars that we can utilize. There's metals and whatnot that we can use to convert to the necessary resources, or necessary equipment, or necessary materials that we can use to build further colonies, to expand. But when you think about Mars, we're going to need more than one solution for a number of different approaches, a number of different areas that will help to contribute to developing a colony or colonies on Mars. So it's the same thing. You don't want to be reliant upon one method because it may not be quick enough. You want to have a multitude of different methods to essentially provide the same result. One could be more effective than the other. One may work better at a global scale. One may work more at a local scale. I think we need to kind of be cognizant of that. We need to kind of take these different factors into consideration and working to develop these colonies on the surface of Mars or underground. So it's a fixer-upper. It's like having a car and just the frame of the car. with some very basic components that are on it. So you have the foundation, but you still kind of got to build around it. Got to maybe do some restoration to the frame or polishing, or then you got to start putting the engine in. You got to start putting the transmission in. You got to start putting the frame, the doors, so on and so forth. And then eventually you can get that car hitting the ground, rolling, and driving again. I think there's no difference. I think Mars may naturally become a habitable planet within 1 billion or so years, potentially, with the expansion of the sun. So we are right now in the Goldilocks zone, which means we're in an orbit locked into this. We are in an orbit close enough to the sun where it's not too cold or not too hot, where life can sustain itself pretty well naturally based on the position of the Earth and relative to its orbit around the sun. So as the sun expands and grows, that Goldilocks zone shifts. It will get wider out. So you could say eventually Mars will end up in that Goldilocks zone. And maybe if we haven't made an effort to colonize and make Mars habitable before then, Mars may very well become more habitable in that case. It still probably won't share, probably won't be as lively or as active as Earth is right now, but it will be probably easier to manipulate the planet better than it is now, because obviously as the sun expands, that Goldilocks zone expands. Mars would naturally warm up more as that happens with the sun, meaning the planet will start to release more gases, and start to release more oxygen, more water, starts heating the planet up, maybe, and depending upon how active the core is on Mars, if it stays relatively active in that time period, you could potentially see a habitable planet of Mars occurring naturally, give or take. It won't be this again. It won't be the same in comparison to the Earth, but it'll be easier, probably by then, to manipulate, colonize if we are still here, and we're looking to do so. There's still other opportunities out there. There are other objects out there that have the capability. I believe there are several objects, several moons around Jupiter and Saturn that could be capable of harboring life. So there's that. Or eventually at one point we will shed or evolve or advance enough in technology where we can develop the propulsion methods to go beyond our solar system into other star systems quicker than we can now. Because chemical-based propulsion systems, chemical-based propulsion is way too slow. It's extremely finite, and we will not get to a destination such as the nearest star system quick enough if we were to send millions of people. We're just essentially signing our death wish using traditional or current methods of transportation, current methods of propulsion. So we need stuff like nuclear and then go beyond nuclear. So yeah. So we are going to need pretty much everybody of all different backgrounds, all different interests, all different expertise to pretty much essentially build everything from the ground up. So you think about it this way: people who clean, people who cook, people who build, people who mine, people who who patrol or security, or people from all walks of life we're going to need with all kinds of backgrounds. It's essentially from scratch. We need everybody. So that's why it's important that we play a part, that you can play a part in contributing to helping continuing the existence of humanity and just life in general. It's a big thing. Initially, in the beginning, it's going to be very controlled. It's going to be very specific in terms of what we need to do first before we can start letting the general populace, the general person, come in to do a normal job that they may do here on Earth. Given it won't be the same initially, so somebody who picks up garbage here on this Earth may have to follow a certain type of protocol, a certain procedure that is different than traditionally and how it's done here on Earth. So there's that. So it's going to be some adaptation. You're going to need some flexibility. You need people who's going to have to understand this and be able to be willing to learn what these changes will bring, since it's on a different planet, different environment, completely different. So different gravity, different conditions, so on and so forth. So that is just typically that's just a general, a quick explanation, basically. This conversation could go on longer, but this video is already almost 17 minutes long, and I want to keep it short. If you watched through this entire video, I appreciate it. This video is a little bit longer than normal, but when it comes to this type of subject, it's a little bit more up my alley and my interests, so a little bit more time is spent on it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Your time is precious, and if you watch this whole thing, you're a champion. But you're always a champion. You're always a great and amazing person. So, regardless, if you watch this entire video, so just hang in there. If you're going through something rough, it'll get better. You are cherished. You are valuable. You are loved. You mean the world to people. You mean the world to yourself. Take it easy with yourself. Try to take it day by day. Go outside. Think differently. Don't get stuck and confined in your own head for too long, because that can set you on a course or a path that is not helpful to you and not healthy for you. Potentially not healthy and helping others as well that are close to you in your life. So take it easy, and you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.